Holy smokes. Bounced. But here we are. I'll give this a little minute or so and start jib jabbing. Man, I don't know about you all, but I am freaking stoked. So, you know what they say, disappointment awaits. This is actually a really cool place if you get up here into Washington, as is most of the coast. So completely unannounced, so I'm not expecting a whole lot here. Just wanted to take the opportunity to come in live a little bit and jib jab for hopefully a shorter period of time. Don't want to go too long or too far. But if anything does come up down in the comment section, definitely make sure that we address it here. But I'm thankful for everybody who's already come in, and so we'll start jib jabbing. So 2022 was a hell of a year. And what I didn't really reflect on towards my last couple of videos of In and Out 2022 was some of the trials that I had here as it relates to the channel. And I've just been extremely grateful and humbled after, my cars were all smashed into and everything was kind of stolen. The outpouring was just absolutely phenomenal. And what was a valley, a dark period, certainly turned into being a pretty high summit for me. And that's all due in part to all of you all, whether it was in direct response to that would happen or just being and hanging around. Like, I feel like I can't repay people for giving up their time when they come onto the channel and watch and pour into themselves by leaving comments and, making themselves known here. Like, I can't, there's nothing I could do. It's just kind of this give and take here. Hey, brother, man, good to see you. I hope you're doing good, man. It has been a while, but we're all still kicking, and looking forward to 2022, 2023. Get 2022 out of the equation. Get it out of the equation. So, I had a few videos that certainly drummed up some resonated pretty well. Earlier on in the year, I'd done a couple of videos that worked well and were responded to well by the audiences, and of course I had a few that ruffled a few feathers, but that is what it is. I think that it's important to have honest, authentic conversations, no matter how hard they can be. And one of the most powerful conversations I think we had. Oh, thank you, man. You are the shizzle. Hey, Paul, you too, man. But Anthony, man, thank you so much, man. I think one of the most important videos that I did of 2022, what was, in regards to what I would call tactical virtue, which is to me the embodiment, that living of our virtues, our values, and our beliefs. And that was a video on dealing with darkness and just challenging and encouraging all of us to A, seek help if we need it, and B, if it's not us, to look after those who are around us that may be going through hard and difficult or trying times. Like, if I've learned anything, it's that there are people all around us who are dealing with life, because life happens regardless of your position, regardless of how much money you make. I mean, God only knows, man. If you go watch, read National Enquirer, look at all the smash and grab stuff, that happens in social media and news postings about rich and famous people. Like, everybody goes through crap, goes through garbage. So I think we can do better as a community by looking after everybody around us. Zeph Survival from Canada, man, outstanding to see you here, man. Thank you and welcome aboard. Matt Kippard Outdoors, man, I appreciate that. And I think, it's easy to get caught up into, looking at those that we may seem to judge. I was watching a little clip with Mike Rowe today, who I think is an outstanding, phenomenal dude. And one of the things that he was driving home in this interview was that there are countless people out there who are working hard each and every single day. And so it can become super easy to get lost in the mumbo jumbo of people that may be living things in the wrong way or embodying different values that we don't believe in. But the truth is, as far as I can tell, that is absolutely true, that there are so many more people out there who will never make the news. They will never make the headlines. You may have an NFL player who has a catastrophic medical condition on the field and will generate news about it. And my hearts go out to and prayers go out to him and his family. But think about all the EMS personnel whose lives are put on the line, all the frontline responders who day in and day out deal with tragedy in both things that they deal with as well as their own lives. So not only do you have the everyday ordinary citizen who's going through life and battling things, but also those first responders who are out there, making sure that they can do what they can to help those people out and get through it. And they're all hardworking, but we'll never give these people enough time and enough credit for what they do. So I think there's way more people out there than we give credit for, as far as those who are embodying the very things that we believe and we value. And I think connecting with these people in one shape, form, or another, and acknowledging their existence and recognizing that the community that we want to be a part of is bigger than what we think. There's just not enough people out there who are talking, and not enough people out there who are sharing their message, and not enough of us who are listening to those who are sharing those messages. So I'm pretty excited about 2023. Um, I do have a few videos that are already kind of done and in the queue. Uh, Gonna be looking at some new tents that are out there, and I'm going to be, going out and living without a tent and without a fire. Because when you look through all of the news, the search and rescue operations that happen, lost person and lost person attitudes and actions are very similar in what people go through. And so I kind of, quasi put myself into this kind of situation of being completely unprepared and just trying to get through a scenario, to show that it can be done. And I was really fortunate, even though the temps, it was during the cold snap up here in the Northwest. So even though the temps got down to about 10 degrees, the outside of my debris shelter got down to like 3 degrees. There was no moisture in the air, and so even without a fire, and I had no wind, so I had a few things going for me. But there are so many people who do become lost, isolated, and wounded. And I think if we have a little bit more skills in our kit bag, we can find ourselves, should we happen to find ourselves in that kind of situation, to be much more prepared. Let me look at these comments again here real quick. Yeah. Average people do good, or the silent. You are absolutely right, man. The silent majority. And and they're all over the world. And I'm grateful to not only have traveled the world, um, and seen and met so many good, hard, honest working people, but also here on the channel, in comments that come in from all over the world is pretty awesome. DJ, man, what's up, Top? Man, no, I am doing good, brother. Thank you so much. Oh, man, thank you. My wife loves me too. Mrs. Stoker is stoked. Ghost, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. All the again, whether you're coming on now or you've been on for a minute, I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you for all of the continued support throughout the last year, for sure, and going back the last couple years when I first got this thing really re-energized with what is now the absolute worst video, but most well-performing video on the channel, which is how to use a compass. Half the dadgum thing is out of focus. But a lot of trials, a lot of playing with different things and trying to master my own craft, while presenting crafts that I believe people want to master and should master. It's been an absolute phenomenal ride. Chuck Beat, Happy New Year to you too, brother, man. I thank you so much, and I'm gonna do what I can. So I talked about a few videos that I have that are up in the queue, and there's a couple more, like ones on tourniquets being kind of overrated and underused, and how to apply a field expedient tourniquet as well. Tourniquet. I don't know if I just said that right, but that happens for me from time to time. Um, and I think after that, so that's going to kind of get us into February, and then yeah, man, Paul, you should. I'll talk about some upcoming training that we're going to have here in my area specifically here in just a second. And there was another one there. Ukrainian veteran father is in the hospital. Man, you know what? The VA, it is so rough. Like my dad went through as a Vietnam vet, so I can have some solidarity with you here that he was shot through the kneecap and was exposed to Agent Orange, and it took decades for him to even begin to get treated properly. So VA is just too big of a machine, and it's too much red tape. But hopefully, your father can find some way to find some health and redemption in his body and his lifestyle and health and everything. So here's to your father. um, kind of want to do a series on how to defeat things, which will kind of carry on from some stuff from last year, like how to defeat drone technology, how to defeat thermal and NVDs, how to defeat dogs, the art and science of hunting man, something that I have about the idea scripted out in my head, and I've been doing a ton of additional homework and research and reaching out with some different folks to try to get that lined up right as far as how to present it as well. But of course, the Grunt Proof's Sear Games, Sear Challenge is going to premiere in February, and I'm super stoked about that and my opportunity to have been able to go down there and help Randall and Grunt Proof get that off the ground for this year. And then kind of going into March is going to be um, March 11th, and I'll have some community posts probably later this week, and I'll do another one once we get a little bit closer. We got a couple series of trainings that's going to happen here locally with an organization called Frontline Preparedness, and they're a nonprofit organization in Kitsap County, right up the road in near Bremerton. There's got to be a dog walking outside. Riggs is losing his mind. He's going to protect his house until somebody comes inside, and then he's going to love him to death. Um, but I got a class I'm going to do with them in March, and then a class in April. One's going to be on knots and shelters, and then the other one is going to be on rappelling and doing a water crossing. So that should be pretty fun. And both of those are free. As a nonprofit, that Frontline Preparedness, that's all they do is organize training for the local community to be able to be better equipped to respond to crisis that happens. So I'm pretty stoked to be able to help them out. In May, I should be going down to California to teach a probably week-long class, maybe 5-day class on survival and evasion. It'll be kind of a public SEER event for anybody who's able to come out, and that will be hosted by Grunt Proof. And then hopefully sometime before June 15th, I got to kind of map availability with the weather as far as being able to get back up into the Cascades and conduct a land navigation course in a spot that I found in the National Forest, which I think is going to work uh, really well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And let's look at some comments here. Yeah, man, that would be outstanding, and I'm sure. So, I got a lot of 2023 is going to be a year of transformation for Stoker on the personal side of the house. As hey, Andrew Cole, man, good to see you. As I will probably be Mr. Stoker by August. I'm sure. So that's gonna be an interesting transformation for our life as our careers and professions change up, and I figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. But definitely, if we can work something out, brother, to come out your way, I would love to be able to make that happen. DJ's talking about man tracking being a hell of a skill, a lot of attention to detail and personal development. Absolutely. Renegade American, Renegade Merc 6. Hopefully, I just said that right. Um, Recently found the channel. Man, awesome. Appreciate you, brother. Um, that's good. But coming to Pennsylvania, so odds are I'm going to end up near Wilkes-Barre, certainly up in the Andrew Cope, certainly up in northeastern Pennsylvania. And, there'll be a lot more to come as far as where we get situated and how we get looking forward to getting some things going. And I'm really looking forward to doing more in-person training once life is a little bit more stable. It's kind of hard with my day job right now to commit to a lot of things. Even with just the creation of videos, like I'm up at 04ish in the morning, and then right now it kind of sucks because it's sun didn't come up until super late. Um, and then I'll work on some stuff, in the morning, and then during lunch, if I'm not beating and putting boot to um, and then trying to work on some stuff in the afternoon, and then with family and being a grandfather and kids and everything else. So hopefully once I transition and I have a little bit more of a predictable timeline, I can conduct a little bit more uh, regularly scheduled in-person training. And so I've been working on my curriculum, and I'll be looking forward to getting out there to Pennsylvania for sure, and figuring out some of the ins and outs of using the state parks that are out there and some of those state lands. Because I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different than using the national forest and BLM land that we have out here. Yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome. It'll be weird, part of me would love to stay on the West Coast for a variety of reasons, not least of which is because it's so much less populated. Like, it is ridiculous. If you've never been, west of, Oklahoma to to that mountain line, whether it's the Sierra Nevadas or the Cascades, like that section of property here in the United States is absolutely minimally populated. And two, it'd be kind of awesome to have a West Coast versus East Coast kind of thing going. But we're gonna move out east, so it'll be what it is. Let's see here. Your early time in New Mexico make me a hard worker. I tell you, I certainly worked hard as a ranch hand when so I was working before age 13 with my dad in the leather business, which he did for and still does for years. And then at 13, when I went to go work on a ranch up in the Gila Wilderness, was certainly some of the hardest work I ever did. And I learned some valuable lessons about integrity and honor and, kind of riding for the brand. And so that's always been kind of instilled in me. Land nav at Fort Indiantown Gap. Man, I will look that up. Yeah, man. Certainly heading out that way. Hey, Tanner, good to see you, man. And Mohawk Patriot Chief, awesome to see you as well. Um, so yeah, but I think again, there are so many people from different walks of life. And John, the guy that taught me so much, this ranch hand, Southwest life was certainly a lot different of an experience than what I know a lot of other folks may have had. And not to speak ill or anything else, because I think if you get into a rural America, which is in literally every single state, there's rural, hardworking Americans. Um, The Southwest, there is still something a little bit different. I remember, so uh, my grandfather, my namesake, had a barber shop in Alamogordo, and I remember up there getting, and that was old school style barbershop. And outside, I still have his old hat rack from the barbershop, which is pretty awesome. So hopefully, once I can get like a place behind me a little bit better set up, I can kind of hang that up because it is old school. Um, all those old cats, this would have been, early 80s. We're talking about, their grandparents talking about Billy the Kid. I mean, that's the kind of, you know, life that we just kind of grew up around. Lincoln County was right there. Of course, I was born in Roswell, and we had a cabin, little cheap cabin that burned down, but it was hand built up in Ruidoso. So that was pretty awesome to be able to get up there as well. Yeah, man, heading to PA. So probably Wilkes-Barre. We'll be there before Christmas, I'm sure, as we get ready to start transitioning and getting this new thing going. But as always, I've said this, probably, John, good to see you, man. I say this a lot, and I mean it. That there is so much. Although I have a couple of my black books here. Um, this is one of my newer ones, and I've got another one that is just slammed full of ideas. It's kind of my journal of taking notes and thinking about things and processing through uh, skills, techniques, stories, breaking things down, and maybe kind of deconstructing a few things to figure out how to present things in ways that are like handles that people can kind of pick up and carry with them. There's so much of the content that has been generated as a direct result from comments that were left, emails and messages that I've received, and things of this nature. So by all means, anytime, man, you can drop me a note, shoot me, drop a comment as far as video content that would be helpful for you personally, or that might be helpful for the community at large. And where I can, like I will, do everything I can to try to make these things happen. I try to stick to a predictable schedule of just pushing out one video a week, with the exception of getting out and talking about some virtue stuff, which I try to put midweek when those happens. But I try to make those Sunday videos the main thing. So any skills, any techniques that we can work on, and I don't have to be. You shut your commie mouth. Not you. That was my phone. And I can't wait to not be get phone calls that I have to answer on a weekend or at 2 o'clock in the morning. I say that, but to be honest with you, so I've been a first sergeant for 5 years, a diamond wearing first sergeant for a long stinking time, and all the trials and all the crap and everything. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So in fact, if I could keep doing it, I probably would. But things just don't go that way. Let's see. Yeah, no, I will. And as we get closer, I'll drop some notes here and there, um, and do some updates as far as when we're moving. Yeah, and Paul, I will do something on getting a boonie hat squared away. I've got a couple um, that I'm gonna stain and then get fitted with some wire. That way, it's a little bit more. There's some more stuff going to it than just getting some wire put in, and look forward to that. Land nav at Fig. We over to work the gearbox doing sling. Oh, okay. Man, that sucks. um, so, man, I'll talk about. It's an interesting story, and I think some of that probably better wait a few months. It may end up on my other channel, which is more military focused and stuff based anyways. But maybe I'll drop some stuff here. Um, so yeah, we'll see. But the thing with going to the Sergeant Major Academy now is that's going to be like a 5 6 year commitment, and some of that there's so much little guarantees as far as what happens anymore, because you don't pin until after you graduate the academy, and that's assuming that there's an open spot that you can get to, whether it's an S3 sergeant major. And I mean, you're not going to come out of the academy and be a CSM. So um, I certainly don't want to be a staff guy, and I don't want to do the political thing. So I'm super happy. It's been eye opening these last few years, anyways. So I'm ready. No regrets. Some primitive land navigation, yes, sir. It's gonna. I got some things in mind because what's interesting, and I've been trying to think about how I want to talk the story of primitive navigation. Because everybody will get out there and tell you and show you how to use a watch, or how to make a shadow stick. And I've done shadow sticks. I've talked about watches. I've talked about navigating with the stars and even the moon. But I think there's some story that's missed. And part of growing up in the Southwest was having a really strong tie and connection to the expansion of the West and the mountain men specifically, in the rendezvous. And I would love to have so much of like Russell Osborne's treks mapped out, because I really want to go walk um, where he walked. Um, but there is so much romanticism about things, and some of it is just missing some common sense and contextualizing of how people have moved in the past, versus let me try to take a finite or a fine skill, like let me find north using my compass, or watch face or something that we just miss. So trying to get to some areas where I can walk through what some of this stuff looks like, and how to find routes, because ultimately that when you talk about primitive navigation, whether we're talking about, especially here in the United States, from the westward expansion to, which ironically, not ironically, but if you look at road maps, so like most of our highway system were built off on trails and roads, or emerging roads that were used back in the day. But even going back even more primitive to the mountain man, and looking how the natives here uh, progressed from area to area, is very interesting, because the majority of it is resource based. And so we kind of miss that, being resource based, and when we're thinking about primitive navigation. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see how. What do we miss? Uh, Very proud of man. Man, I appreciate you. And there is some interesting stories. I probably just shouldn't get into, with my day job still being what it is. Sense of inspirational, detailed calendars. Yes, sir. It's very interesting. It's so much. I read something recently. It was a meme. It was talking about reading older books because that's what made us who we are, or something like that, and not reading newer books based off of the crap that we've kind of put ourselves into. But there is something to that. So I've done. I don't read much anymore. I have a few books on the shelf, and Louis Morris just sent me out a book that I'm working through. But you know, time to read has kind of waxed and waned over the years. But there was a time when I read a ton of books, and I still have boxes filled up with them, and most of them were old books, old history books, because there was so much there. And the problem with these older history books, like if you look at Russell Osborne's journal, it is great, but there's there's he was writing it as a journal, right? As a diary. And so it's kind of neat to see the location of the location. But there's a lot of things that like dudes like you and I are really looking forward to see in there that aren't that he wasn't writing about because it wasn't on his mind, to talk about um, specifically some of the traps that were being used and how they're making fire and dealing with water and navigating a lot of these things. So, but it is interesting to go back and read so much of what's happened in the past because it's easy for us to discredit the past because we think that we're better. But I don't know that that's so much true. Yeah, man, totally. Just totally wild. All those old dudes from back then. So, man, I unless somebody else has anything, that you want to drop a comment and we can jib jab a little bit. I just wanted again to say thanks so much for the continued support. Again, your time is not something that can ever get repaid back to you. Like once it's gone, it's gone. And so I'm very cognizant of that, and even more so now on the channel, and trying to be take an authentic and humble approach to what we do here, and realizing that I may be on this side of the camera, but it's because of all of us together that can make a conversation and a dialogue authentic and great, and helps me master my craft through everything that's left here, and not least of which is your time. And that is, I'm deeply appreciative and thankful for that. Talk about some of the content that's coming forward in January and beyond that I'm kind of stoked about. And again, challenging you and submitting to you that if you have some ideas for content, if you drop it in, I do the best job I can to replying to each and every single comment. What I'll tell you is the challenge for me is replying to replies because those get notified in the notification bell. But I don't pay attention to my notifications. I go into YouTube Studio and I'll read. I'll sort through comments there. So if there's ever a reply that you need to make to a reply, the best thing to do, honestly, is just to leave a new reply. That'll keep it up in the top of the queue, and it'll make sure that it doesn't get lost. As well as talking about some of the transitions that the old Mrs. Stoker, me and Riggs and Lucy, our other dog, which is really the wife's dog, but it's kind of English bulldog, so it's still kind of my dog. Have coming up in 2023. So I'm super stoked. Look here real quick. Ha! Yes, sir, man. Plenty of commentators down there in California. And I'm looking forward to getting back down there, hopefully in May. And we'll see if I can get back out there again in November as well. And we'll keep things rolling down there. But there are comments everywhere. And I was kind of taken back at how many people unsubscribe from the channel from some celebrating some commentators, but it's all fun and good, all fun and games. Let's see, small teams. You know what? Yeah. So of course, DJ. My other channel, Bill Stoker, is all about military development, leader development, board preparation stuff for these younger guys. And I spent a lot of time talking about leadership there. I did here on the channel for a while, and then I kind of made that channel to help separate it. But maybe I can definitely fit some stuff in here because I think it relates to virtues and our values and our beliefs, which I think is very important to keep, not necessarily at the forefront of the channel, but I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that the things that are inside of us are more important than the things that we do with our hands. And if we can get ourselves right, then what we do and the skills that we practice and how we live our life, it'll work itself out. So I got you. I will check that out. Man, I'm looking forward to it. Town. Hey, man, I tell you what, brother, shoot me an email, stillchromatic at gmail.com. I'd love to hear more about the areas in Pennsylvania and the lands and any websites that you may know of that will have some of the detailed information about state lands in Pennsylvania. Would certainly be helpful because there are some state lands near where we're going, but I got to get into in figuring some of this stuff out. So, well, Maryland, Anthony, man, hell yeah, brother. We'll be pretty close pretty soon. And I appreciate you, man. Um, yeah, no, I feel you. So I mean, the other channel is it's a little bit smaller, and its niche is just that. It's professional development for these younger guys, and trying to feed into them and be present with them as they walk through trying to figure out their careers and try to be a voice for things that I believe and that I value as a leader in the military. So I'm super stoked about that one. Frontier Survival, man. Good evening, brother. There was a quick story only because uh, this reminds me of it. So I was, again, my dad was in the leather business for the longest time, and being in the Southwest, there's lots of reservations, and we go up to the Apache reservations all the time. And because my dad's business of dealing in leather, he was able to connect with the tribes on a very personal way. And so when they would have their gatherings, almost like clockwork, when the sun went down or shortly thereafter, all the white eyes would have to leave, except for my dad and my brother, God rest his soul, and myself. And we could stay and we could hang out and run around, throwing knives and tomahawks as any good kid wants to do when they're like 8 years old. Who doesn't want to throw a tomahawk? Um, but the announcer would come up and he would say something to the effect of, this would be at like 10 o'clock at night. Good night to all those of you who are going to bed, and good morning to all those of you who are waking up. And like every hour on the hour, you'd hear the announcers say stuff like that. So uh, it's just funny to me, anyways. Chaz, appreciate seeing you, man. So the weather up here is pretty decent right now. Of course, we had a cold snap, like everybody did. And I thought it was going to be worse where I was at. It was certainly cold, but it could have been a lot worse. But right now it was mid 40s when me and Riggs were out earlier today doing some stuff. So not too bad. But it's our rainy season, but it's pretty moderate here on this side of the pass. You get on the other side of the pass, man, and you don't want to be out there. It gets craptastic. Um, oh yeah, sounds good. Um, Yeah, I feel you, man. That's all the changing seasons, and the risks that they bring from rain to mudslides to fires, as we get into l- later into the summer and stuff. So pretty wild stuff. But here it's pretty moderate, assuming that the big one doesn't go up, which of course is not down in California, man. That big one is right here in Seattle, man. It's gonna be crazy, man. I bet, man. I was talking to my mom still lives in Albuquerque, and they've had some pretty bad weather come through there as well. But 40 gets some really bad weather up and down it. Well, man, it's been 40 minutes, and I could stay and I could do this thing for a hot minute, but I don't want to waste y'all's time. So, for everybody who just came on board, it's great to see you. For everybody who's come on and left, I appreciate you hanging out. Look forward to seeing y'all in the near future. I'll try to do some more live streams, and looking forward to definitely continuing the conversation on Sundays after these videos drop. Oh, no worries, brother. Uh, I appreciate you coming in. But we'll see you guys, man. I gotta get ready, get stoked. I'm always stoked. What can I say? But we gotta get some stuff done around here in the house. So appreciate you guys, man. Deuces.